because of the Celcius fiasco, Simon has been on a lot of different Twitter spaces speaking about this salvation, this proposal to save some percentage of value for the community that involved themselves with Celcius. And his pitch most recently that I've been hearing in those Twitter spaces, that has thousands and thousands of people saying, I put my crypto into the hands of Celcius and I didn't think that I could lose it. Simon's proposal is to make Celcius into a Bitcoin mining operation. What are your thoughts? If you can hear me, I don't know if you're still there.
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. So putting Celcius into
drops.
Bitcoin mining operation, that doesn't make much sense to me. So Celcius is basically a token that people get paid when they use Celcius, which is technically not a blockchain system. What Celcius is it's an onboarding mechanism that takes your crypto and sends it to some other crypto channels, supposedly that gives you yield. So I don't know why would anybody do that? I mean, clearly any crypto holder that gives up their keys, they're giving up their ability of self-custody. So anyway, you step away from self-custody, whether you're using Celcius or anybody out there, I'm not going to say that you're being tricked, but you're definitely saying, I will participate in somebody else holding and manipulating my crypto that can lose it at any time. So whether we were doing mining or anything, it's irrelevant because you have given up the custody of an asset that you own. And that's, I would say, a violation of the first principle of crypto or blockchain. So there's no point saying there needs to be miners here or there. It's more of an organizational thing, and it's a human decision thing. Somebody may think, I am too worried that I'm going to lose my crypto because my password is too weak, or I'm going to accidentally upload my private key or share my 24 recovery phrase with someone, and people will steal my stuff. So I'm much better off giving it to Celcius or somebody similar to Celcius because they have the system to manage it and they're responsible. The fine print, however, clearly states that should you give them your crypto and should they go bankrupt, they will take your crypto to protect themselves and their investors first and foremost. So that is the part of the education that I feel like is missing a lot from the general public. And I think Richard is doing an amazing job educating people out there, saying this is what blockchain is, this is what crypto is, this is what value of crypto is, and this is why the value either falls or rises in dollar terms. So education is the number one element that I think has a huge potential in the space in terms of literally just, number one, telling people how to store their crypto safely, how to use a hardware wallet, how to store 24 phrase recovery phrase, and how to use the 25th word, because Ledger and various other wallets, they do have a password to your password that you can literally just store in your head or give it to your significant other or put it somewhere separately from your 24-word recovery phrase. So yeah, I mean, there's so many things you can do properly, but it all comes down to the fact that you need to first understand what is self-custody and why it's important. And then you need to understand what the counterparty risk is. Like, who is the counterparty? Who is on the other end? And ultimately, if you look at the Genesis block of Bitcoin, you're going to see a phrase that basically speaks of banks being the counterparty risk. And when you store anything in a bank, you are basically making a social contract with another institution that they're going to maintain the value of your social of your credit, essentially, which is your social effort. So you worked somewhere, people give you dollars or euros or any other currency, and that's the representation of whether you've been good for the world. You're now storing it in a bank, which is your third party. Now, if the bank is illegitimate, then they can literally take this monetary energy away from you. Crypto was designed to solve that problem. I mean, of course, we all know that crypto is worth money today, but back in 2011, that wasn't obvious. It was just an experiment. So, I mean, in hindsight, people should have been buying Bitcoin, spending millions of dollars buying it at $1 a coin, obviously, right? And today, it would have been $20 billion on the $1 million invested. So, but who knew, right? And this is the story goes back to Google, buying Google shares. When Google went IPO, I remember watching TV. It was trading at $80, and we actually had to lower the IPO price because the reception wasn't there. Like, people did not understand that Google could be huge, and information is very important to the world. And so the IPO price was lowered, and there were a lot of CNBC people out there calling Google the digital dud. Like, it's just not gonna go. It's gonna fail. Facebook was the same thing. There was this conversation how they failed the roadshow, and they're trading at $25. So I think they went IPO at like at 35 or 38, and then they dropped to $20. That was the time to buy, obviously. So, but anyway, in hindsight, things are obvious. And I think from the psychological, mental perspective, it's best to learn from your decision making in the past, but don't anchor on it. Like, don't think, okay, well, I spent that much money on crypto, on pizza, and now I can sleep at night because I could have, saved this money and gave it to my kids, or I could have retired. I think that type of thinking is not going to help anyone. I think it's best to focus on building new things or participating in new technologies, looking towards the future. Like, what can we do in this bear market? So in this macro cycle that we're experiencing today, a lot of crypto has fallen 80 to 90%. And I'm not saying it's time to buy, but it's definitely time to keep your eyes open to see how the space develops and to participate, whether with DCA or participate as a builder within an interesting project, interviewing interesting teams to see what they're up to, and basically watching how the world is changing. I believe that the thorough understanding of the present can guide the success in the future.